a win on Sunday night, but what's a win going to look like? What is it going to take?
Well, I'm looking at the new depth chart. I know I'll kind of mix that in there with this, but Florida State has quarterbacks and that's what we saw last year: quarterback Jordan Travis or Mackenzie Milton. I'm interested to see if Milton's going to be playing in this game. I think that's going to play a pretty interesting factor on Norvell and Dillingham's game plan offensively. I look at the defensive side. I was wondering who was going to be your two starting corners. I had a feeling Brownlee would be, but I was wondering who that second person was going to be. And, Travis Jay is down there. I like it. He played really well in high school at that position. We've heard great things out of camp from him. He's going to kind of be all over the defense, but I think him solidifying as a straight corner, though, in this game will be nice and bring a physical factor because Notre Dame's going to be bringing in some impressive wide receivers on Sunday night. So, those are the quarterback situation. Looking at the linebackers, too. I mean, you've got Kalen DeLoach, who I don't think anybody was expecting at all to be a starter at linebacker in this game coming into the season during fall camp. You got DJ Lundy starting over Steven Dix Jr. I don't think we look too far into that. I think it fits well for Lundy to be a linebacker in this game because of Notre Dame's game plan running the ball. But Steven Dix Jr. will be in that game no matter what. And then, looking at Amari Gaynor as the stud linebacker doesn't shock me. Wasn't shocked to see him as a starter. So, the linebacker room is something that, is going to be the big question mark. Can the defensive line get after the quarterback, though? I think that's going to be the pivotal part about this, Mark. Can they get after Colin? Can they disrupt him? Can they disrupt his rhythm? That is going to be the thing that this Florida State defense didn't have last year, disrupting a quarterback. They have to have it in this game. Florida State will have the factor of Doak being loud. It's going to have that energy, but they've got to be able to play. Jermaine Johnson, you came here, you left Georgia. It's time. You wanted to figure out your playing time. You want to get to the league. That's your main goal. Show it. This is where you show the scouts. This is where you show everybody you're here ready to rock, and you want to be a first, second, third round talent. The only way to do that is going to be starting against on Sunday night, and that goes along with Keir Thomas too. I mean, he's coming in. He doesn't have that kind of not as much time as. Or he has more time than Jermaine Johnson, but Keir Thomas has to send it too. He's got to be a guy that, those two have got to play a big time factor in getting after the quarterback and being a big pass rush heavy on Sunday night. Depends on how much money the tickets are, but I would kill and I'm definitely trying to be there. Most certainly. I can't tweet all this kind of stuff and not actually be there and back up my chatting on there. So I think I need to be there. That's mandatory, but it really depends on his paycheck, to be honest.
Well, Todd Feely, or however you say his name, he's really not a running back. I think he's the guy's with the Washington football team right now. The running back that he had from Memphis. Todd Feely is actually is the way the game is going. He's a slot wide receiver that does a really, really good job at running the ball as well. He's in space. He's not a guy that you want to give 20 to 30 carries if you need. He's a guy that if you have 10 carries scripted for him in the game, a perfect world would be 5 runs, 5 passes. Whereas Corbin and the other guys are really built to be able to carry the load and aren't your change of pace type of backs. And I think that's what people have to really see. That he just gives you an opportunity to throw a defense off. So when you put those 2 running backs in the game, you've got to set your defense based upon that, and they've got you in a situation. But they're interchangeable. You could put another slot wide receiver there and still be able to run your entire playbook. So I just think that's just the base formation for what Mike wants to do is a 12 type personnel. So you're 1 tight end and you're 2 back.
Logan, on the defensive side of the ball, when you look at that depth chart, you talked a little bit about the defensive backs. We talked about on the defensive line up front, you've got Keir Thomas, the Miami native who transferred from South Carolina. You talked about Jermaine Johnson, transferred from Georgia. Both them are in the starting lineup on the defense. What got me is at linebacker. You've got Amari Gaynor, the stud, your former high school teammate in there. Kalen DeLoach, we talked about him a little bit. But DJ Lundy, talk about DJ Lundy at that third linebacker position. Does that surprise you that he got the nod over Steven Dix Jr.?
Lundy, the last, I would say, couple of weeks, definitely in the last scrimmage, full-on scrimmage, has played very well. I think looking back at it last year, both guys got about the same amount of reps. thing with Steven Dix Jr., he's got the size. Of course, that's what everybody's happy about, but it's his hips, how slow he is. If he's able to go to the right gaps, where he's at in coverage is something that I think maybe might still be lacking. But I'm also looking at it for the game plan that Adam Fuller and Coach Marv, are writing for this game, because Lundy as a run game stopper might be the better option here. You're not having him at Rice. I mean, Rice is not listed on this depth chart, and I'm wondering how Florida State, losing a guy like that who ended the season very well, definitely in the run game defense, missing him is going to do to this defense. I'm hoping that a leader comes out of this. I hope Lundy actually takes that next step, because both guys, like I said, they had a lot of time last year, and I'm glad they did. But this is a different kind of game. But I do think Lundy, the last couple of weeks, the optimism, the progress that we're hearing from him, and the good things, and how he's been flashing, is able to show up in a game. We've heard a lot of things in camp. We've heard it all the time, positives. Everything's going to be great, but it all depends on how this game's going to go. But I know a lot of people are, Steven Dix Jr., why is he not starting? I don't think it's something that people should look too deep into, honestly, because Lundy is a guy that fits this defense for this game package better than Steven Dix Jr., in my opinion. We'll see, though. We'll see if Coach Brian, if he's going to mess around and throw it around a little bit. I don't know. We'll see. But I think Lundy's in a good spot right now. I mean, that linebacker room is my biggest concern heading into this game. I'm not too worried about the DB room as much, because they had a full spring in a camp. But that linebacker room, the defensive line, I think, is going to do its job. But I'm not fully sold on linebacker room still.
Yeah. My guy that I'm looking at, honestly, is Andrew Parchman, the transfer who came in, the Broward County native, transferring from Kansas. He's the guy I want to see. I've gone on record saying I think that by the end of the season, he has the potential to be the number one receiver, to take over the spot that I think right now is Keyshawn Hilton's heading into this game. I think if Andrew can have a big game, national TV, big spotlight game against Notre Dame, I think you will see him be the feature receiver from this point on. But he has to show out against Notre Dame.
All you heard about all year, and Amari Gaynor is another young man who I got. Obviously, Logan went to school with him, but I've gotten a chance to know him as he's an official fifth quarter athlete for Florida State right now. I thought he was going inside, but to put him on the edge is ingenious. If you watch his high school highlight film, basically that's what you see him doing, is creating pressure, strips, especially on the backside with the quarterback getting strip sacks for a team. That if you can get Johnson on the other side, really creating havoc and getting the double team, this could now finally give Florida State to be able to create some pressure. But one of the questions that I asked him, and I also talked to one of my former teammates, and Ernie Sims, who's now coaching in South Florida, as I jokingly told him, you don't want those problems with guys like me in the middle. What I told Ernie's an all-time great linebacker at Florida State. But it's a whole different world when you're on the inside. And the way the depth chart looks, it looks like Kalen is on the inside, and a walk-on linebacker from Godby High School, who was Cortez Andrews, I believe is his name, who was highly recruited out of high school, but wanted to play safety, is there, and he's got Amari Gaynor about 20 pounds. But obviously they want that guy to have a little bit of speed, and I'm assuming that the other linebacker is going to be the one who's going to probably try to put their head in, try to let them be the one to bust up things. But it's just different inside that box, and Kalen is extremely fast, great first step, really twitchy, but he's also probably at least 15 pounds, probably 20 pounds too small to be in there. So I'm interested to see how that works.
For both of you guys, we'll start with Logan, then we'll go to James. What is your key, if you want to give a key on defense or offense, or a general key of the game? What is your key for Florida State in this game? Logan,
offensively, or just pick one offensive defense?
Offensive defense, if you want, it's your call. But what are your keys, I guess, to Florida State?
Key number one is just playing smart. Don't cause any kind of stupid penalties. I think Florida State heading into the second year under Norvell, that will be helped a lot. I'm not going to say anything more, but just not making any kind of silly mistakes would be nice. That's going to help Florida State a whole ton. Number two, defensively, pass rush, you're going to have to get after Colin and disrupt his rhythm. If he gets into rhythm, that's his problem. He's not a phenomenal quarterback by any means, but he can throw the ball. He has experience. Even if he's going into a doke like this, which is going to be something new for him, it's new for any quarterback coming into a primetime doke game. You've got to disrupt them. You got to mess with them. You've got to send pass rush with Jermaine Johnson. You got to be able to get Gainer off there where he's taking a one-on-one kind of situation, use his speed and his athleticism to get around and get to him. And that kind of pivots to the second part of going to the second tier, which is that linebacker, making the linebacker's job a little bit easier. And I hope, I'm wondering too, if I don't know. I mean, Deloach has had experience, he's played in a few games, but I'm wondering if experience is going to play a factor for that linebacker room. And I'm interested to see how that's going to work. And then offensively, it's going to have to be really, connecting, I think, for, not really mainly the offensive line, but for Jordan Travis and how he's connecting with his wide receivers. We've heard really, really good things about him and him improving as a passer, but, we got to see it in a game. We've heard really good things about him. There hasn't been a lot of takeaways. I just want to see if that chemistry is able to get him down the field as a passer, because I think Notre Dame's really they have a game plan after they saw him last year. They didn't have much on him last year to work with, but now they have a full year to look at film, and I feel like they're going to they've got a game plan set up for him. So I think, if it is where they're going to be able to contain him, he's going to have to throw the ball, and I'm interested to see if that improvement that we keep hearing is going to happen for number 13.
James, what are your keys to the end for Florida State?
I'll go on defense first. It's simple. Well, the key overall is you've got to win 2/3 of the game. And I mean, you have offense, defense, and special teams. So you got to be able to dominate one of those. It's either going to you got to dominate one and then win the other. Defensively, what it comes down to is how are you going to pressure the quarterback? Again, a guy who is very conservative from what it is, and how are you going to stop the run? Everything is talked about with the defensive line on getting pressure and getting sacks, but Notre Dame has a really good running back, and that's the guy that you really have to key in on and create turnovers early. A young team that's not used to winning, coming against a team that has more of an established, even though I hate this word, established culture in Notre Dame, but a ton of inexperience as well. You've got to, coming into a stadium that at current is 95% sold to capacity. I think we're doing an SEC style tailgate where everything is open at noon, so it's gonna be raucous, and it's a tough environment, and nobody's used to this. Like even FSU players can't go in. The only thing that I'm hoping is on the Friday night where the legacy walk is that some of us old heads can kind of give them an understanding of what it's like to play in front of a packed dope. So that's an advantage. It's national TV, prime time. Everybody's watching. Millions of people are watching you. It's not a spring game where where your mom and your uncles are there, and it's basically kindergarten graduation. This is the real deal. So FSU has a lot of things that are playing into their favor, and you've got a young secondary that's kind of let people go back to what they do naturally. And Akeem Dent playing safety, and a Travis J playing corner, and being able to be strong and athletic. So really, those are the things that we're going to have to see on the defensive side.
We've heard from the. Go ahead. Sorry, James.
Offensively, it really just comes down to Jordan Travis, and how good of a passer he's improved on. And I've said it since January, and this has nothing to do with a dislike of Mackenzie Milton, and more of, from what I'm understanding from the coaching staff, a love of what they actually saw from Jordan Travis when he was healthy. He's had a full off season. He's healthy now. If he can attack the weak spot of Notre Dame, which is their secondary, with guys like Parchment, with guys like Keyshawn Helton, with Cam McDonald, and even the tight end from UCLA, Wilson. I think everybody is just seeing him as a big body, but he moves pretty good for a guy who's his size. what can they do creatively in the passing game to be able to attack a coordinator who's coming from G5 level, albeit a damn good coordinator? What can they do to attack this coordinator and put him on his edge with FSU, or as Mike Norvell has said, in his entirety, having a staff completely together for a year for the first time in his career?
Yeah, and James, you missed out one real quick, Jason. You missed out one, James, and that's alcohol will be allowed to the fans to bring into the stands.
Yeah.
So that will amp it up. That's gonna.
Wait a minute, we can bring it in.
You can bring it. So you used to only could have had it in the stands, so they had it blocked up. Not in the stands, but you only got to have it under the where you got it. Yeah, now you can bring it to the stands.
Oh, I got you.
So for those of you who sit in section 32, where Logan will be, please make sure he's near the aisle so that he can stumble down.
Logan, I got 3 concession stands. I got 3 concession stands this game. I'm going to tell you which one to go to. I'll make sure you treat it right. Just buy from my guys. Don't buy from the other ones. I need you to buy from my guys.
I just need Milo. I need to grab a good amount of. I'll have a water bottle, but I do need a few. I heard they're having all kinds of different goodies at these.
Logan's going to be.
I will text you.
Logan's going to be drunk before the Orange Blossom Classic kicks off at 2 p.m. Let's call him.
If he comes to my tailgate, he might be.
I always like to come by before I go into the stadium. I always like to come by for a couple shots or maybe 2 or 3.
On the offensive side of the ball, my biggest key is I want to see how Corbin. I want to see how Toafili. I want to see how the tight ends play because Notre Dame is now down like James talked about a little bit. The secondary is their weakest link, I guess, on the defensive side of the ball. You'll say. They're now down a linebacker for this game. It's attacking that middle of the field. I don't care if Jordan Travis or Mackenzie Milton doesn't throw for 300 yards. Little dink and dunk passes, dink and dunk runs, just get first downs. That's what I want to see on the offensive side of the ball. On defense, I need to see, and I talked about a little bit earlier, the not quit attitude. I was inside that stadium, down in Hard Rock Stadium, when they let Miami jump out to a big league and they just quit. And we lost 52-10. I was inside Bobby Bowden Field when we played. Our defense played like game busters against North Carolina, played like they cared, and they won that game, upset the number 5 team in the country. Last year against Notre Dame, in that first half, they looked like they cared, and they stayed in it. Second half, you have that first touchdown. It's like, all right, we're done here. That's the way it comes across.